Listen, I get a lot of comments in this channel. Some are good, some are bad, but others are simply just insane. So let's go through some of them. In my Lawrence of Arabia video, someone commented, "This guy sounds exactly like Klaus from American Dad."
And all of you to enjoy life with. This is...
Now, honestly, that's probably because of my kind of German accent. I got a mix. I was born in Germany, raised in Chile, so my accent is some weird mix of German and Spanish and English. So I guess that's where it comes from. Or I don't know. Do you guys think, do I look like a fish? On that same video, shame on you for being greedy and putting sponsors. Never going to watch your videos now. Bye, I guess? I mean, listen, no one likes it when the video is interrupted by an ad break, but it is what it is. Unfortunately, the kind of videos that I make here on this channel are one of, if not the least profitable ones, just because it takes so long to make just one video. So, you know, the amount of money you get has to be split through several months, shared with, you know, my animator. So without sponsors, it's just not viable to make videos such as this. And even with sponsor, it's just barely keeping afloat. So yeah, I know it's not fun to have to watch sponsored segments, but it is what it is, right? In my Vietnam War Part 2 video, someone commented, "Agent Orange." I don't know what to make of this, yes? In my Lawrence of Arabia video, once again, someone commented, "My name is Lawrence." Good for you, buddy. That's a nice name. Okay, and we had a couple fun ones. Now it gets a bit more serious. In my War of 1812 video that for some reason was like a magnet for racists, someone commented, "Did he just call the Jews white?" Now, this is likely a response to that part of the video where I make that joke about, you know, what kind of people Americans consider to be like white enough to have political privileges, while the nation was striving for democracy and justice for all. Except for black people and natives, of course. So democracy and justice for all white people. And like, white. So no Irish, no Italians. Or Poles, or Jews, or Muslims. And it is kind of funny because I didn't really make any kind of statement as to, you know, whether Jews would be considered white or not, especially because, you know, there's all kind of Jews, right? There are Jews who look white, who are not. There can be black Jews, all kind of Jews. Just like there can be, you know, white Christians, black Christians, there can be Arab Christians, all kind of, because it doesn't matter. It's a religion, right? You can have people from different ethnic backgrounds. But the whole premise here and why this person seems to be mad about it is because this person is probably anti-Semitic and would not consider Jews to be, quote-unquote, white. And this is one of the daily reminders that the concept of white doesn't really exist too much. It is a made-up concept that is defined by what it is not. Whiteness is defined by exclusion. If one of your parents is white, the other one is not, you are no longer considered to be white. And even among people who look white, they may not consider each other white. The British didn't consider the Irish to be white for a long time. What to say about Germans who went after German Jews, right, who were like just as white as they were, and still they didn't care because it is not really about what they look like, but rather what the in-group considers to be good enough for their in-group, right, and just who they consider not to be. And that is why, as time has gone on, and people have become at least a little bit less racist, the concept of whiteness has had to expand because they just need more people in it so that they can be strong enough to, you know, keep the whiteness going in their view. And that's why people who 100 years ago would not have been considered white, Italians for example, can now get to be white supremacists, even though, again, 100 years ago, they would have been on the chopping block. So yeah, I mean, this guy is getting riled up over nothing and just blatantly saying, yes, hello, I am an anti-Semite, so fuck you, we don't stand for that in this channel. No kind of bigotry allowed, no anti-Semitism, no Islamophobia, no nothing. Now, in my Open Wars video, someone commented, "Hey, thank you for this. Thank you very much. You really tried your best." I don't know if I'm supposed to say thank you or f you. And then we got one of my favorite comments. This guy was probably smoking some opium himself. I consider myself a skeptic, ironically. So I ask, how do you know any of this? Were you there? Checkmate. Although I am willing to accept that you were there for all of this, as long it is stated. And unfortunately, this guy got me. I have been caught. I am now forced to admit to all of you that I have been lying to you. I have deceived all of you, and I apologize. I was not, in fact, alive during the Open Wars. I was not there to witness them. So I'm truly sorry if I have misled you. If you wish to unsubscribe, I will completely understand. If you wish to cancel me, go ahead. I deserve it. Anyways, then we got another fellow opium smoker. He says, no source of citation. Also, the opium trade did not create a silver deficit and addiction. And now I guess you can go into, how much silver deficit the opium trade created, blah, blah, blah. But stating that the opium in China didn't create addiction is... How are you confident enough to say it? I second guess basically everything that I do. I wish I was that confident, man. I really do. And again in my War of 1812 video, I did warn you this video was a magnet for racists. So some guy commented, please, 5 million Native Americans were slaughtered, so that's 316 Americans could be alive. 316 million Americans would not be alive today if 5 million Native Americans were not slaughtered, so please don't attack us. 316 million Americans would not be alive today if 5 million Native Americans had not been. And it's really funny because he didn't comment just these 3 comments. He commented a bunch of times and then a bunch more. And most of those comments are not even fully written. I guess he was just too eager and wrote them beforehand. I don't know what was going on. He was crashing out. He just saw any mention of, Americans killing Native Americans and just completely lost it, I guess. And this is a good time for me to talk about something that I really like to talk about. And it is the whole concept of guilt, right? And I guess it's kind of the original sin. Americans, and I guess Germans too, have this little thing where the countries have been responsible for a lot of pain. There's a lot of more countries who have done this as well, but this is just for an example. And I don't think that you, as a random American or German, are responsible for the things that your ancestors may have done. In the case of the US, you as an American are of course not responsible for the genocide of the Native Americans. It's not something that you should necessarily feel guilty about. But since we now have the benefit of hindsight, it is something that we should acknowledge and hopefully make sure that such actions do not repeat. And that we try to whatever extent we can, try to do some sort of reparation for the damage that may still be ongoing. Now, this is something that is also very apparent when it comes to the treatment of black people in the US, both with slavery, right, which lasted for quite a while, with the last slave being released. When was it, 1942 or something? Because sure, official child slavery was abolished with the Civil War, but slavery in other forms kept going until I think it was 1941 or 1942. I always forget. And many of the injustices continued, right, with segregation. So while you yourself may not be responsible, of course, for slavery or any other form of systemic racism, I do think that we have a responsibility to try to bring attention to these matters and try to fix them so that people who are still suffering from the consequences of all the years of oppression can finally be free of that. And in the case of Germany, of course, Germans today may not be responsible, of course, for the Holocaust or the Second World War, but since we have the benefit of hindsight, I do believe that we have a responsibility to ensure that something like that never happens again. That is why I have also been so disappointed with the way the German government has been consistently arming and supporting the genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza and the illegal occupation and apartheid that Israel has been subjecting the people of the occupied territories of the West Bank, because I believe that never again means never again for anyone. But I'm getting sidetracked. Let's continue. So let's go for something fun once more. This guy commented in my video about Hitler in Argentina, and he said, I think he went from his hiding place in South America to the future. That means he will reappear in 70 years if he went 100 years into the future. That is also kind of funny because the numbers are not numbering there. If he went 100 years into the future in 1945, then he would have arrived in 2045, which is 20 years from now, not 17. So, off to a rocky start with the conspiracy. The evidence is in the research regarding Die Glocke. That was a time machine developed in the South America between World War II. A test flight was done in the 60s, but the German in it managed to send it back before he was apprehended by the Americans near Los Angeles or San Diego, where Hitler lived his last years. And again, I'm confused because I thought that Hitler went to the future. So why did he live in San Diego in the 60s? Maybe he went to the future and then he just didn't like what he saw and he went back, and I don't know. He lost me. In my Radium Girls video, someone commented, all countries in the world are trash, which doesn't really relate to the topic of the video, but okay. Now again, in my Radium Girls video, someone said, the nastiest poison that ever has been found. Mankind should have never been allowed to discover it. It has caused more fear and harm than good. Now, I assume this person here is referring to radiation or maybe radium. And I do want to comment on this because, fun fact, I am not a historian, I am actually a physicist. I have a master's in medical physics and I'm currently about to start my PhD in the same subject as well. And I specialize in radiation protection and particularly how radiation causes cancer. While, of course, radiation can be very dangerous, what we like to call it a double-edged sword, it also has great uses. And I'm not just saying nuclear power, but what I mean here is medical uses, right? We have a bunch of medical images that you can do. PET scans, for example, CT images, X-rays, and you also can treat a variety of diseases, the most common one, of course, being cancer, with radiotherapy. But yeah, we can literally cure cancer presently, and we do it for millions of patients a year using radiation, ionizing radiation, of course. So radiation does do an insane amount of good, and it's really interesting because a lot of our knowledge on radiobiology, so how biology responds to ionizing radiation, has come from horrible things, from the bodies that were studied from the Radium Girls. It came from, for example, the nuclear bombs, the studies that were done on the survivors to find out how much radiation causes how much cancer. And a lot of our knowledge that is used in the hospital today came from such things. And it is always crazy how something so horrible can, in some ways, advance knowledge so much that it actually saves lives in a very unexpected way. I guess it's kind of a silver lining in a way. I would love to have another channel where I can talk about science and just other non-historical things, but it's just too much effort and work. Maybe at some point I can hire like another animator to focus on that. Maybe in a few years if the channel grows enough, I guess. And finally, in my Open Wars video, someone said, this is definitely AI input to making the style of oversimplified. I'll just do that with whatever topic I want. I wish I was using AI or something to make these videos because it would be a lot easier. The amount of effort each video takes is so freaking much oh my God, I wish I was not actually doing this, and instead it was like some weird AI thing. But yeah, it is me working countless hours alongside my animator now. But yeah, it's humans doing it, no AI. Anyways, I think that's enough for this time. Let me know if you enjoyed this kind of content, and let me know if you want to see it again. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and make sure to catch me live on Twitch every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, twitch.tv/TikaNick, talking about current events. You can find the link in the description. Bye bye.